And thank you for joining us for tonight's forum sponsored by the League of Women Voters serving Acton, Boxborough, Littleton, Maynard, and Stow. The League is a nonpartisan political organization for women and men which encourages informed and active participation in government. We do not support or oppose political parties or candidates, though our members may. This forum is part of our ongoing voter education efforts to help voters make informed decisions in the upcoming elections. We hope that over the course of this program, you will learn more about the candidates and their positions. All candidates for contested elections have been invited and are participating. I'm Joanne Berry from Acton and will serve as tonight's moderator, and I am a member of the League. Thanks to Kathy Borofsky, Leslie Hogan, and John Sonner for organizing and working on tonight's forum. Our timer, Leslie, which the candidates know who she is, will be visible to the candidates and will put up signs indicating 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and stop. I don't believe the audience will see that. So please observe time limits. Candidates will have 60 seconds for an opening statement, 90 seconds to respond to questions, and 60 seconds for a closing statement. Of course, candidates will be putting their mics on mute when not speaking. We are recording this forum on Zoom on Monday, June 1st, 2020, without any audience. The forum will be available soon after. The election is on Saturday, January 27th. Stow Town Clerk Linda Hathaway encourages voters to vote by mail. The application to request a ballot is available through the town website and was included in the May 1st Action Unlimited. All voters are eligible and encouraged to vote by mail. The polls will be open on Saturday, June 27th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I think in the usual location at the Hale School, but I am not absolutely sure of that, to accommodate in-person voting. And then annual town meeting will be held Monday, June 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Hale School. See the Stow Town website for more information or if you need to contact the clerk. Alrighty, our forum tonight will consist of two parts. There are 3 candidates for 1 open seat for trustees of the Randall Library. We'll speak with them first, and then 2 seats with 2 candidates each on the Board of Selectmen. So, welcome to the candidates for Library Trustee, Barbara Wolfenden, Marcia Cole, and Lisa Lavina. Each candidate will have an opening statement. As I ask the questions, the order will rotate at random, so you're not always after the same person or before the same person. So let us begin with opening statements, and Ms. Wolfenden, you may go first. Whoops, you're still muted, I think. It's not working.
Sorry, Barbara, it's not working to unmute you. Are you able to unmute yourself?
This is not. We should have tested before. John, maybe you should stop recording.
I'm so.
Whoops.
Here I am. Let's see. Unmute. Let's see here.
Okay, I can hear you. And the others, all right. So, whoops, now I can't. Hold on.
Unmute now.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, it just went away. What I didn't even don't know why. Anyway, yes, my name is Barbie Wolfenden, and I would like to say I'm really happy to be here. I see democracy in progress here, and I will say that if any one of the 3 of us is elected, or any 2, the library trustees will be very blessed. So we're all good. Why would you vote for me? Well, I've been a trustee for about 9 years. And before that, I was a cost center manager at Digital for 20 years. And I supervised a lot of people developing courseware and books. And before that, I taught Spanish, English, and political science. I was a United Nations guide, and I've been a mother. I've also been on the Randall Friends, which is the financial organ of the library, contributing to furniture and computer purchases and things like that. I learned a great deal about how libraries operate, being there for so many years. The library is...
Time is up.
Oh my goodness. Okay, sorry.
No worries.
Thank you. I didn't see any signs, so I'll be on the lookout next time. Thank you.
Ms. Eckel.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. And thank you so much for hosting this. I'm Marcia Cole, and I am currently the Development Director for the Concord Free Public Library, a position which I've held for 7 years. I have a master's in nonprofit management, and I've been a resident of Stow for 10 years. I am raising 3 daughters with my husband, all who should be attending center school and will. Actually, one will be going to middle school next year when we are able to go back to school. And I am hoping to find a way to commingle my professional experience with a volunteer effort in town, and I gravitated towards the library. I am part of the Randall Library Friends. In fact, in the month of April, I helped coordinate an effort that raised over $2,000 to support the Friends through Library Giving Day. And I'm just eager to learn more and work with the staff to help promote our library so that it becomes a central part of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Lavina or Lavina?
Lavina.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lisa Lavina. I've lived in Stow for over 25 years. My professional background is in nonprofit business administration and budget management. And coming from that environment, we were always trained to be very careful with the public's money and to think creatively about how we come up with ways to solve problems. I think that that's a mandate for the trustees as well, to find how we can creatively look at the library and make sure that we're using town resources carefully. In the community, I'm currently a member of the Local Access Cable Advisory Committee. I've been on that group for 12 years. We provide budget oversight and operational oversight of Stow TV, and we also negotiate the contracts for Comcast and Verizon for the town. I'm interested in becoming a trustee to support the library director and all she's trying to do for Randall Library.
Thank you. Our first question. There is an article on the town meeting warrant this year requesting $80,000 for the library roof and HVAC repairs. There have been a number of false starts regarding renovation or building a new library or moving to another existing building. What are your visions on this subject? Ms. Eckel.
Thank you. So I think that it's become very clear that it's very expensive to maintain like the current Randall building as is, and we have to figure out a way to make the library more efficient, potentially more sustainable, and also a more comfortable environment for our community. So I don't have the exact right answer for what that should be. I think that we have a lot of potential in our current footprint to make some changes that will accommodate our patrons in a better way. And I also think there is some opportunity to expand that footprint if that's what we decide collectively with the trustees, the friends, the staff, and the entire community is best for our town and the use of our town resources. I've spoken to the library director a few times about some ways we could reorganize the library as is that might make it more efficient, more usable, more user-friendly. And I look forward to hearing more from the fellow trustees if I am to be elected, and also working with the staff and the friends and the community at large on what the needs really are and how everybody wants to use the library. I think libraries have evolved drastically. They're not just about books now. They are about programming. They are about connecting. It's a wonderful place to go when you have a toddler, but it's also a wonderful place to go without kids and just sit and relax. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lavina.
I think that for many of the people who have lived in Stow for a long time, we've watched the town put reasonable amounts of resources into the repairs of the building, and the repairs continue to fail or not be adequate to maintain a nice environment in the library. So I think that it's time to put a group together that can actually drive a project forward to really assess the challenges, the opportunities for repair, the possibility of relocation, but there needs to be a group that's very focused on finally resolving the situation for the physical plant of the library. Again, not knowing a lot in depth about what's gone on in the past, other than as a taxpayer and knowing that money has been put into the library repeatedly. I just think that it's time for us to take a step back and accept the fact that we may need to think about changing the library from the way we know it as a building, but not changing the way we know it as a place for us to come together, to be educated, to be entertained, and to take advantage of those opportunities for information that the library provides.
Thank you. Ms. Wolfenden.
Yes, over the years, we have done a couple of, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes, good. A couple of polls of the citizens, and in each time asking whether they would prefer to move or stay, it's always been 50-50. So it's very difficult to find out how the residents feel decisively. My personal opinion is to stay with it if we can renovate to the point where we stop the money flow going into fix it, because it is such an icon to the town. We've tried twice to move. Each time we've been thwarted either by the town in terms of the finances or in unfeasibility of another building. So I believe that we can continue with appropriate renovation, meaning we will take down a 1970s wing and rebuild to the point where we can actually have the space we need. And we have problems with access and closed rooms. We don't have any closed doors currently, and the traffic through the in the way we've been considering it now.
Could you just say your last couple of sentences again? You kind of froze up there.
I believe that with appropriate funding to add and renovate the current library, that we can have the correct traffic patterns, enough space to meet our needs. Right now, the library is not 100% worthwhile to the town.
Thank you. I think that took care of that. Next question. How would you promote the library's value to the town in the age of the internet? Is it a space to gather or to learn from each other, ... Ms. Lavina.
Well, I think that it's kind of a misnomer to say that in the age of the internet that the library is not needed, because what the internet has done for people is basically opened up the opportunity for knowledge to be gained from anywhere in the world. And the library serves a big purpose in training people how to use the internet so that they can take advantage of all the different access points. It's no longer just walk into a library, go to a hard copy of something that library manages to have and use those as resources. Now you can borrow books to read for pleasure. You can go to a library in France. You can go to a library in China if you want to. There's lots of different ways to gain education and information, and the library is there to help you navigate that. And they're there to help you understand the forms of entertainment that you can get online, and from movies to music, learn a language. I think that the internet has made the library an even more valuable place rather than eliminating the need for a library.
Thank you. Ms. Wolfenden.
Yes, a library is way more, as has been stated, than just a collection of books and computers and readers. And two things that I've read over the years and have come to believe. One is that most of us spend our time either at work or at home, but the library offers another place, a place where you are away from computers and, well, your own and your telephone. You can go and you can sit and read a magazine. You can meditate. You can, free of charge, you can just go and be in a third safe place. The other thing I would like to say that is important is that it has unexpected benefits. There was a book found by one librarian about abused children, abused teenagers, and she was dusting or replacing books. In the front cover of the book was the handwriting of a teenager who said, "At last I found someone who has experienced what I've experienced." That's the kind of thing that doesn't get repeated in advertising and marketing, but it's one of libraries' beautiful, beautiful elements that it's private. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Eckel.
Thank you. One story that I have heard through all of this quarantine and the COVID crisis has been, there are a bunch of libraries across the nation right now that have a helpline, basically a telephone number that you can call and talk to a librarian for anybody that is out there that is lonely, that needs to make a connection. And to me, that is the epitome of what a library is. It is a place to make a connection. Whether or not your connection is speaking to a staff member, your connection is to a book, your connection is through technology. It's a gathering spot for everybody. And I also see it as a great equalizer because it is free and open to all. I think the library is central to the community. Everybody is welcome. And I think that there's opportunity for everybody to engage in a different way. So maybe you start out because you bring your toddler there for story time, but then you maybe take a class or you join a knitting group or you join a cookbook club. I think that there's opportunity across all generations to participate in the library. And I think that the staff is kind and engaging and innovative. And I think that they're consistently looking for ways for our library to connect with the citizens of Stow. And I think that that's such a wonderful, positive thing for our community.
Thank you. Next question. How do you see the library functioning for the rest of the calendar year in the midst of the pandemic? Ms. Wolfenden.
I believe we've already decided to have curbside service so that people can take books out. They will be delivered to the cars. The staff has been working steadily through doing lots of things which are required in library management of the books and the culling and that kind of thing. So it's a good question because we don't really know when things are going to be safe. I believe that our director is very creative and is looking for ways in which we can continue to serve the community without necessarily opening up the library doors. But there may be groups allowed as long as they are separated and able to function with masks and so on. Many groups are now, communities are allowing these kinds of things as long as there's hand washing, temperature taking, and I think it's just going to evolve because I don't think we know any timetable right now, but I think there will be access to the library pretty soon.
Thank you. Ms. Eck.
So I think, I mean, that's a tough question because I think that there's really no predicting when this is going to come to an end. I know that Tina, the library director, is currently working with the MBLC, the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners, to figure out the best way to move forward in the safest way possible while still allowing the community to engage with the library. Right now, the online services are particularly valuable. So, you know, Kindle readers can still read books, you can still access movies. I've seen some trends where libraries are offering podcasts, where libraries are offering art kits where you could come and still pick up some of the programs that our wonderful children's librarian Chris offers. So I think that there are a number of ways for us to continue to have our patrons participate, but I think that we need to sort of understand the timeline of how this is going to move forward. Curbside pickup is huge. I know for so many people, it's almost a religious experience to be able to touch and feel those books. And I think that that's a really great morale boost, frankly. And I just think we need to consistently be learning and hearing and understanding best practices statewide and nationally, frankly, too, so that we understand how best to move forward and keep everybody safe and still allow people to have the library as their sanctuary and their safe place.
Thank you. Ms. Lavina.
I echo my other two partners here. I think it's really hard to envision what the library will be like for the balance of the year. There's a lot that can be done online, but I think that like adults who work on Zoom all day, students are going to class all day on Zoom. And I think the notion of the library conducting activities on Zoom is viable, but I don't know how much appetite there might be for it. Perhaps further into the summer when people have had a break, that might happen. I would love to see the library figure out how to do curbside pickup, because it's a way to connect to the library even if you can't go into the building. And I think that there would be many people who would be willing to volunteer to help make something like that happen. I'm heartened to know that the library staff stays active behind the scenes and that they're working on whatever kind of programming they can come up with. It's a great team of people, and I think that their creativity will be challenged, which is always great for anybody who's doing a job. It's nice to be thinking different ways about how you can deliver something that's important to you. So like Marcy and Barbie, I look forward to seeing exactly what they're able to come up with. I think it's a big challenge.
Thank you. I think this will be our last question. Just double check my time. Yes. Often the library wants to do things or has a plan, but the plan is pushed down and not done as there are more pressing issues the town needs or wants to deal with. Can you speak to this issue? Ms. Eckel.
So I think that one of the reasons that I have been so excited about the potential to be involved with the library is because I think one of the biggest roles of a library trustee is to be an advocate for the library to help the library become its best possible self. And I think that there have been some challenges we've faced in my time in Stow. I know that, you know, in 2012, I think it was, there was a vote to try to renovate the library and it did not pass at town meeting. And I think that there have been some technology challenges. I think that there have been some, you know, wireless internet challenges. And so I think that it is important for the trustees to work closely with the library director, absolutely taking the cues from the very qualified director that we have, who has the most real library experience of anyone, but also just making sure that the group is the guardians of the resources of the library to make sure that the library is meeting everyone's needs. And so I do think it's challenging, you know, for instance, I understand that a budget cycle does not necessarily support 6 new computers, so maybe there's ways to tier some of these updates so that we can make incremental changes that boost morale without having to go whole hog and fully support everything all at once.
Thank you. Ms. Wolfenden.
That's a good question, and it's a tough one that we've been wrangling with ever since I've been on the board. One of our challenges is to educate the public as to where our funding actually comes from. It's an unusual instance whereby we do have a trust fund, and we live off that trust fund to a great degree in terms of purchasing books. Without that help from the trust, the town would have to pay much more to support the library in terms of materials. It currently handles the staffing of salaries, but we do get most of our other funding from other trusts and our own trust. And sometimes people think, well, they've got a trust fund, they can just take that money and they don't need it. But we do use it. We manage the trust very well so that we do stay solvent. But the town needs to understand that we're saving them a lot of money by handling the trust very well. The other issue is convincing the town of the value of a library. It's so important. And as the library continues to change, it's really, as has been said, not the old-fashioned place where you went to check out a book. So we just need to continue to notify the town and educate the town how truly important it is to our community.
Thank you. Ms. Lavina.
This is one of those topics that's been frustrating as a longtime resident of the town, is to watch the library struggle to accomplish what it's tried to do through a few directors. And I think that one of the roles in the trustees is to really offer that dogged support for keeping the project going. I've been a project manager in my prior professional experience, and it's hard to keep the enthusiasm going. You have to be conscious cheerleaders of a process so that everybody stays excited and involved. You have to help the townspeople, like Barbie said, understand where the funding comes from and where the support for the library is. And then you also have to get them to understand what the value is for everybody in town, so that they get behind the need for a library that's welcoming, clean, inviting, and feels like it's something that's there for everybody in the town.
Thank you. We'll now move to closing statements. Each has 60 seconds. We'll go in the reverse order of the openings. Ms. Lavina.
So I'd just like to close by summarizing something that's been said a few times. The library in Stow is a very special place. We have very few communal gathering places. The community center is relatively new. And I think that it's been a place that people gravitate to for lots of different reasons. But the pull is that opportunity for education and culture. And I think that it's key that the trustees maintain that while they look at bringing the library into the current world of libraries. Tina, the director, and her team work really hard to keep the library engaging and relevant, and I think that they know that it's important that all towns members feel that way. I want to participate in planning and delivering improvements to the building and make the most of whatever the town ends up investing in that improvement. If I'm elected to serve on the trustees, I'll encourage creative thinking, but careful attendance to the finances. And I want to encourage the library director to know that she's got people behind her that will help try to make her goals realized. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Eckel.
Thank you. So as I understand it, I think the most important role of the library trustees is to act as advocates for the library and to make sure that the library stays as a important piece of all of the lives of the people in Stow. I think there are ways that we can focus on engaging more participation. I think that we have less than 50% of the people in town that have library cards, and some of that is based on age, but some of that is, for the kids under 6. But some of it is also just spreading the word about all of the wonderful things that you can do at a library. I think that we have a real opportunity to work with the staff and the friends to make the library better, to understand the weaknesses, but also to understand the opportunities that we have so that we can push the library forward so that it is the best it can be to serve everyone in town. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wolfenden.
I thought about this question of closing remarks, and I believe it's why would you vote for me? Anybody who's listening. As a senior citizen, I think I bring a lot of experience, life experience, to a wonderful group of people who are all dedicated, willing to work. It's a fabulous board, and I'm privileged to be a part of it. I believe I bring a certain modicum of tempering any kind of contentious issues, I shall say. And I think that because I've served on other committees that have to do with the library, I understand the politics of the town, and I think I understand how things work. So I think I bring something to the board, and I hope you will vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes our portion with the candidates for library trustee. Thank you. I think we can stop recording for... We are now here with the two, so your Board of Selectmen candidates, there are two candidates for a one-year term to finish out a term, and then two candidates for a three-year term. At this moment, we have our two candidates for the one-year term, Brian Burke and Ellen Sturgis. And one of the candidates, Lenny Golder, is having technical difficulties getting to our Zoom meeting, though Megan Birch McMichael is here. According to FCC and IRS rules for empty chair, which the three-year candidates, that would be considered an empty chair if only one of the two candidates appeared. We're going to hold off and see if Mr. Golder makes it here. If not, Ms. Birch McMichael will give a statement, but in the meantime, the other two will answer a series of questions. Each candidate will have 60 seconds for an opening statement and then 90 seconds to respond to the questions. So let's begin with Mr. Burke. Your opening statement, please.
Thank the League of Voters for putting this on. Good evening to everyone. My name is Brian Burke. I've lived in Stow for over a quarter of a century. My children all went to school at Neshoba for almost their entire careers. My daughter played on the high school basketball team that went to the state championship 2 years in a row. My son earned his Eagle Scout rank in Stow Troop 1. And everyone knows my daughter, Gwendolyn. While my family has been living in Stow, I have served on a number of community boards and committees. I served on the Neshoba Regional School Committee for 6 years, 2 of them as chair. I've been an associate member of the Council on Aging for almost 2 decades, and I served on the Stow Board of Selectmen for the last 6 years, 1 of them as chair. I know how this town government has worked over the past 10 years. At this point in my life, all my friends and neighbors in Stow know me and my commitment to our town. And it is because of that commitment that I'm running for the, not 1 year term, but COVID shortened 10-month term left vacant by my colleague this past January.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Ms. Sturgis.
Thank you. Thanks for the league for putting this together. I'm Ellen Sturgis, live on Canterbury Road, where I've lived for just shy of 30 years. I previously served Stow in many capacities, including selectman and a representative of the Neshoba Regional School Committee. So I come to this position with years of experience and knowledge of how the town operates and what issues are facing Stow. Though I've not held office, elected office these past 10 years or so, I continue to watch, comment, and honestly get frustrated by much of what is not happening. I'm running for selectman. See what happens with technology. I'm running for selectman basically because the new town administrator will be coming in, and I do feel like it's an opportunity for us to talk about how the town can better work. The town charter defines the roles of selectman and town administrator, and I think it's important for the selectmen to embrace their responsibility as chief executive body and work with the many committees of Stow. who serve Stow to grieve on the future of Stow.
Thank you. Our first question, how does your training and experience shape your vision of Stow's future? In responding, please tell us how your values influence the way you think Stow should serve its residents in the years to come. Ms. Sturgis.
I think one of my proudest moments is when I was chair of the elementary school building project over 2 different committees. And our goal in that process was to really encourage people to be involved in the discussion, not just to vote yes or no at town meeting. We had had years of failure. The process gave people a chance to come in and say not only what they wanted in their school, but also what they didn't want. And it wasn't just about money or not money. It was really about, how much we want to include as part of our elementary school. And that's where I would bring that same process to the selectmen. I think we need to be more involved with the residents to get their input and their feedback on where the town is going. I don't feel like in the most recent years that we've been really taking advantage of the expertise in our town to really think about where we're heading. And the selectmen, as the chief executive body, should be directing the other boards, not just letting the other boards sort of make the plans for us.
Thank you. Mr. Burke.
When we're talking about the unexpired 10-month term that we're running for, we need to think about what's coming up in terms of the precarious financial situation that our town and all the other 351 communities are going to be in over the coming year. My values right now are to start working on day one with the budget, which I've worked with over the last 6 years. I'll build it, I'll craft it, but we're going to need a special type of recent knowledge over the next 10 months. That's the only reason I'm staying on. I hadn't originally planned to run again, but I think that we're in a situation right now where we're going to have to make some very hard choices, and we're going to have to start scrubbing the budget on day one, and that's going to require the type of experience, recent relevant experience with the budget and the town's finances that we haven't had, or excuse me, that I'm uniquely situated to provide. I also agree that we're going to need to bring in all the boards and committees. Quite frankly, I think we've done a very good job of that. But on the other hand, this is something that the chief executive officer is going to have to work with our new town administrator, the chief fiscal officer, in order to make sure that services and employees are still maintained in our town without unduly burdening.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next question. The COVID-19 pandemic has created an unemployment crisis, food insecurity issues, rent and mortgage payment delays. What role do you see for the Board of Selectmen, and would you support the warrant article sponsored by the Community Preservation Committee and the Stow Municipal Affordable Housing Trust related to temporarily assisting with rental payments for qualified individuals? Mr. Burke.
Already done so. I think Ellen's husband, Mike Ski, did a great job of thinking about the available remedies that we can afford our renters in Stow, and I'm going to support that particular measure in the warrant enthusiastically. But there are a number of other concerns that our town is facing. Council on Aging has managed to keep open over the past 2 months. They've done a wonderful job of serving the seniors, not just the seniors, but everyone in need in our town. We've kept the Stow food pantry open and working. We're helping the residents of our community get through this crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sturgis.
Yeah, I will say, as Brian said, my husband is actually the chair of the Stow Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. So I'm been quite involved in hearing how that developed. And I think it's a really important and creative way actually to address some of the needs of our most at-risk residents. I think the challenge will be if this goes on longer, and they might need help longer. So, but it was a great partnership of not only the Community Preservation Committee and SMOT, the Affordable Housing Trust, but also the landlord who owns most of or manages most of our rental properties. So I think it's a great model. I hope we could use it in other places. Again, I agree with Brian. I think having the Council on Aging has been incredible. The food pantry has been amazing. And, I think we have to remember that there are a lot of people, and in fact, increasing numbers of people, particularly our seniors, that are going to be at risk through all this. And we have to keep thinking about what we can do to make this a little easier for them. I do think that in the budget, as we look forward, we should think about, like, can we add more support to the food pantry and the Council on Aging, because they are really providing more and more services for more and more people, and they're nonprofits. They don't have a lot of money. So I'd like to see the town encourage more support of that.
Thank you. Next question. We currently face water quality issues centering on PFAS, or per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, at the old fire station and water supply to the local schools. How do you see the town responding to this and other water quality issues, Ms. Sturgis?
So I know that there's been some testing going on already. There's a warrant article to support getting more information on what the status is. They've already done work at the schools, so I think they've addressed the most immediate problems. The problem is that Stow is a town of private water for the most part. We're almost all on our own private wells. So when there's a plume of any kind of toxics, it could reach out to more people than we have any idea. So the important thing, the first step that we're asking for money, I think in the town meeting, is to get more information so we know what the risks are and how bad it is. I think the issues down near the fire academy, particularly, that's years and years of using what we didn't know at the time, but are potentially toxic chemicals that are getting into the water supply, including the town of Maynard water supply, which is right across the street from them. So I think those, these are really critical issues for us. It's hard to know just how bad it's going to be until we get more information. But it's clearly with a town that we all, are sort of spoiled by having our own wells on some level. But we've never. I'd like to see the Board of Health be a little more proactive in helping people get their water tested. Right now, you have to drive out to Air or somewhere else to get results, and maybe we should be more proactive in supporting residents getting information on their water.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
First thing everyone needs to remember is this isn't just a Stow issue. It's an issue across the region. It's an issue across the state. And we on the board of Selectmen took very responsible steps when this was first brought to our attention to protect and to examine and evaluate the town office building water supply, as well as the water supply that goes to the old fire station. We've made some great progress in that regard, and currently we installed a PFAS filter in our in our town office building that will protect the people who work there, and that's important. With respect to the warrant article that is going to be voted on at town meeting, yes, we need to support that article. We need to make sure, because it provides for our own analysis, for our own expert that we have, who then turns over the results to the DEP for the state. But one thing you have to keep in mind here is, because this is such a broad spectrum and far-ranging problem, because PFAS has infected many communities, we have to look at cost-effective ways to remediate it. Anyone who has their own water supply, and that's everyone in Stow, can install a PFAS filter like we did at the town office building for about $2,000. Maybe when we get the results, that's the move we should go in, rather than remediating just about the entire round.
Okay, your time has expired. The final question. How would you protect Stow golf courses from development? Mr. Burke.
Well, the first thing is do the Stow golf courses want to be protected from development? About 2 years ago, our planning board started to develop not just a reactive approach to the development of our golf courses for housing. They started actually putting together a proactive response. We've had several meetings in conjunction with the Board of Selectmen where we've tried to game out what would happen if one of our golf courses or more decided to make their grounds available for community housing. We have a number of options. All of this land is chapter land. We could perhaps buy it back. I don't know if that's a feasible solution. I would love to see golf continue here in Stow, but what we have to realize is with the number of capital projects, including the high school building project, the feasibility study, which I support, with some reservations and some qualifications, I think we've got to recognize that a lot of the projects, the capital projects that we were planning, may no longer be within our reach. And over the next 10 months, we have to spend a lot of time going through those lists and determining what is immediately necessary and what can be slated for somewhere down the line, unavoidably.
Thank you. Ms. Sturgis.
I think the real issue with the golf courses is a bigger picture of where we want the town to go. Obviously, there's hundreds of acres involved in each golf course that might or might not go up for sale. Half of Stow acres, the whole thing, whichever. But I think what we really need to do is be clear on how much build out do we want in Stow? Do we want to have more housing, more? Well, frankly, do we want to consider doing the things we need to do to get more business? I think, we've had the discussion over the years, but I think it's time to have that discussion again. The reality is if we choose to be a residential town, we're always going to have a high tax rate with a lot of pressure on people who would like to age in place, but they won't be able to afford it. So I think I don't look at the issue as protecting the golf courses as much as, how much more do we want to see in terms of residential homes? And then look and see, is it a good use of our money to buy that land so that it's not, we will get the right of first refusal for most of them there as they are in chapter land, but do we really want to spend the money that way? I think it's the same way we have to look at some of the building projects that are coming up at this town meeting and whether that's really where we want to spend the precious dollars we have right now.
Thank you. So that brings us to closing statements. We'll go in reverse order. 60 seconds, Ms. Sturgis.
Thanks. So I bring to the Board of Selectmen a professional experience as a finance executive, a nonprofit consultant, and a college trustee. I bring my passion as a longtime resident of Stow, a former elected official, and chair of the Center School Building Committee. It was this last experience of which I am most proud, but believe it's also most relevant to this election. The success of the building was as a result of actively encouraging participation by residents in the process of deciding what we wanted and didn't want. We found compromise, we worked within a reasonable budget, and can still be proud years later of the school we produced. We continue to have the same challenges each year as always, a budget that both meets the needs of our growing population while allowing our long-term residents to age in place. We must always be asking ourselves the choices of need versus want and balancing out not just our own personal preferences, but those of our neighbors. I ask for your vote and your support on June 27th.
Thank you. Mr. Burke.
First, I want to apologize for wearing a hat. I'm just having a bad hair month. But I think many in our town know that. Look, we're talking about a 10-month term here, a 10-month term in which the challenges stemming from the COVID-19 fallout are going to be tremendous. We're talking about drop in state and local revenues. Certainly. Well, how much, to what extent, it's impossible to tell. Why I decided to run for this 10-month rump term was because our town is going to be facing decisions it never had to make before in recent history. It's going to be a very daunting time. If Stowe were not facing these serious and dire challenges, I don't think my name would be on the ballot. But at least for the next 10 months, I think I have the continuity and recent experience in Stowe government and its finances to help the board through this difficult time. This is not the time to embark on every single community undertaking that we could possibly conceive of and that have been on our planning board. We should be focused on preserving town employee staffing and services to the greatest extent possible.
Your time has expired.
I just would ask for your vote on June 27th or mail-in ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to the two candidates who are filling an unexpired term, which is now less than 1 year as it turns since we had to postpone the election. Thank you so much. Those candidates may be excused.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm not sure if we have our other candidates.
How long are you wanting to? 2 minutes, 3 minutes?
Three. We'll
3
go
minutes.
3 minutes.
All righty.
We have a candidate for the 3-year full regular term. If this had been a live event, Ms. Birch McMichael would have been present and would be allowed to give a statement. Since we are unable to meet in person, we will allow her to make the statement. And she did not get to respond to the questions, as you have seen from the other candidates. But this is what is allowed under the rules. So, Ms. Birch McMichael, please go ahead.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event and putting it together for us. My name is Megan Birch McMichael, and I'm asking for your vote to the Stowe Board of Selectmen. I've lived in Stowe for the past 7 years with my husband and our 2 children who are currently students at the center school. My experience in public service began at a young age through volunteering at food pantries and with Habitat for Humanity. In 1997, I was proud to be an AmeriCorps member in Providence, Rhode Island, serving with City Year prior to attending college. Throughout my life, I have tried my hardest to live the tenet of neighbor helping neighbor. It is in this spirit that I decided to run for the Board of Selectmen. I have served as a voting associate member for the past 2 years on the planning board. And through this time, I have learned a lot about the way a small local government is run. I was surprised to find out it's almost all run by volunteers, community members who are, in theory, so passionate about their town that they are willing to give their time to keep it running. While I have loved my time as an associate member on the planning board, I am running for the Board of Selectmen because I wanted to make sure that the representation of all of the voices in town are at that table. I am disappointed in the current board's decision to push through the hiring of the new town administrator without a full Board of Selectmen, and I hope that they will reconsider this. As a parent with young children, and as someone who has recently moved to town, and who also pays taxes, it's important to me that all needs of the community as a whole are addressed. While Stowe has always been a rural community filled with apple orchards, farms, and golf courses, it is clear that change is on the horizon. I believe that I'm the best candidate for this position on the board, as I know that we can maintain the rural feel of the town while also adapting to and thriving along with the changing landscape. In my work over the last 2 years with the Lower Village Revitalization Subcommittee, I've been excited to see the changes that have come and are coming to our Lower Village area. Changes that are keeping up with the spirit of the town, but also ushering in the future. It is important to me to be a voice on the board that represents a contingent of voters in this community that is not currently there, a parent with young children in the school district. Having a seat at that table will allow for equal representation of the taxpayers. I truly believe that we're stronger as a community if we all work together and search for a common goal. And that is why I hope to earn your vote on June 27th. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder, the actual election day is Saturday, June 27th, but Town Clerk Linda Hathaway is encouraging people to vote by mail. The application is available on the town website, and if you look in your May 1st Action Unlimited, if that's still around. There's an application in there. The polls will be open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And don't forget, annual town meeting will be on Monday, June 22nd, 7 p.m. at the Hale School. Thank you to all the candidates for running, and please go vote. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lenny Golder, and I'm running for Selectman. I first said those words 30 years ago at a candidates forum. I had just moved to town 6 months earlier. My son was 3 years old, and we let him stay up late so that he could hear his dad. Today, my son is 33 years old, a lawyer in Memphis with a wife and 2 children. And I never expected, 30 years later, that if I were running for office, that I would be the one who was the longest resident in town. I'm not sure if I'm the oldest, but I am pretty sure I'm the one who's lived here the longest. But then again, a lot of things have happened in the last 3 months that none of us expected. I decided to run for selectman so that I could be helpful in hiring a new town administrator, much as I had done successfully 27 years ago. But then a tsunami hit. Now, I don't have a crystal ball when the pandemic will end. My crystal ball, unfortunately, never arrived because of the pandemic. But I do know in the coming months, we will need to make some difficult decisions. We need to ensure the health and safety of our residents. We need to maintain and deliver services safely. We need to prioritize and defer spending. And we need to alleviate the financial tax burdens on those who have been impacted by the pandemic with extended tax deferments. And we should wait until we have a full board of selectmen before we hire a new town administrator. Going forward, we need to maintain quality services, including education, and make sure people can still afford to live here, as well as maintain the rural character and quality of the community. And in communicating, we need to follow the advice that a law professor gave me many years ago, that the best way to communicate, 2 words, plain English. Now, I have served in town government on several boards, including selectmen, in almost the entire time that I have lived here in the past 30 years. I was chair of the Board of Selectmen during a recession, and I helped us guide through that challenge. And if I'm elected, I will use my 30 years of experience, my judgment, and my ability to make difficult decisions to help us navigate through this crisis and beyond. I would welcome your questions and comments through email, leonardhgolder@yahoo.com, also on Facebook at Lenny Golder, and my field director Yoder and I, thank you for listening. I would very much appreciate your vote, and take care and be safe.